My next guest on the icons is a role model for Indian children and the bane of their existence because parents are no longer interested in what Sharma ji ka beta is doing. They want their children to do what Pichai ji ka beta is doing, which is basically they want their children to become the head of Google. When we first met for a chat backstage at the Women Will event, I got a chance to see a rare side of Sundar, the man who loves reading, freshly made dosas, and long walks with his wife. And then it was time to head on stage and talk about AI and the future of women in tech. Here's what he had to say. How do you balance children and work?
No, it's a great question. Both me and my wife, we think about it a lot, and I think part of it is making sure through the work we do, carving out time in our lives. We take turns on many things, and I'm enjoying with the stage my kids are in through school and college. I am a tutor right now for them for many things. Before AI does it well, I think I have a narrow window.
Is she here yet?
Okay, now I'm panicking.
Oh, you outdid me.
Big is always better.
I'm hot.
Listen, I'm not playing this game.
Your fashion rod has just fallen off.
His bum is that good.
Scuba diving. You want to go scuba diving?
Sitting there going,
Khana, just stop talking. Now you're embarrassing.
Gopi, stop it, Gopi.
Basically, today I told my team, you have only one job. You have to make sure that I am more Sundar than Sundar. Right.
Easy task for you. Easy task for you.
So I have a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And I think the first one is that you are an icon globally, but definitely to 1.3 billion people here. What would you say to all the young people who aspire to be the next Sundar? What's your philosophy in life?
I mean, I would encourage them to try and listen to what their heart says and do something which they really enjoy doing. I think it's easier to do well if you enjoy what you're doing. So it's important to listen to your mind, but tougher to find what your heart wants you to do. And so that's what I would encourage people to do.
When you were young, did your heart want to be in the tech world?
For me, I was fascinated by computers, and I didn't have access to it, but I used to read about them, and so I knew that I wanted to be with technology, and so that's what I wanted to do. So it was a bit easier.
You're almost the same age, and I remember you had one computer in school, and you couldn't touch it, and it took up an entire room, and then you just go and gaze at it, and now it's there, it's in your phone, you just kind of Google everything. It's almost miraculous.
Yeah, and I think it'll. With AI and stuff, you'll have more and more access to, intelligent computing with you over time. So I think we're just getting started.
I think so. I've been waiting for this for a long time because all of this I used to read about when I was a young girl.
Yeah.
And now we're here. What kind of books did you read when you were young? Did you read a lot? Did you get time to read?
No, I did. I think there was always be newspapers or books, and reading was always a big part of what I did. I used to be immersed in books. I got it from my mom and from my granddad. I have to say, I started with a lot of crime novels.
Okay.
That's what my mom, whatever my mom read, I would read. So, but over time,
Very
then,
basic. I
so used to read them a lot. But over time, other books. I started reading war books, and over time it became better.
Do you get time to read now?
I try hard to. I listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, and I try to learn that way. So, but I read books too.
I mean, YouTube gives you an opportunity to almost learn anything. I have Googled literally and then gone to YouTube videos to see things on how to break a lock of my suitcase and to make a cheese sandwich because I can't make anything. So I mean, it's invaluable. The other thing I want to ask you, what are the influences in your life now and when you were a kid? Are they different? Are they the same?
I think, when I was very young, my grandfather was a big influence for me. He used to read. He always had, I felt like he was constantly trying to learn to make himself better, which inspired me a lot. And so, I think so, he was definitely a big influence. Today, I work with a lot of good people. I'm now trying to learn from my kids and the generation which comes after you. And in some ways, that's what keeps you young and nimble, I think. So I kind of try to look towards the next generation to see. At Google, we hire a lot of people who come in from colleges every year. So trying to keep up with them is what keeps you sharp, I think.
I think, I have a 20-year-old son, and talking to him, I realize so many things, so many of our ingrained beliefs get shaken up because we see it from these fresh eyes.
That's right.
What do you think that which sort of got shaken up for you, seeing it through these younger eyes? Something that you believed in whole life, and then found out that, oh my God, this actually does not exist, or it's obsolete.
Oh, just for me, it's about, you mentioned learning in YouTube. Sometimes what shocks me is like there are things I want to tell my kids, and then I realize they already know, or they generally, know a lot more than I knew at that age.
Yeah.
And so, but in some ways, through that, you see the progress humanity will make with each generation. We all worry about our next generation. That's what we are. I think evolution is designed us to be worried about our children, worried about the next generation. But the reality is, I think they're going to be more capable because they're building on the foundation we have built, and so that's what drives progress in the world. So I feel very optimistic.
No, I don't worry about them at all. I feel that they are more capable than the generation before us. They left us with a mess. Our whole planet is in a situation because of the baby boomers, let's put it that way. And these people seem to really care, and it's also because of awareness. And I think that's what computers and the internet has done. They're all aware of what's going on, and they want to stand up and rectify that.
Yeah, climate change is a great example. I think the next generation will hold us increasingly accountable,
Yes.
and so I think they'll be responsible for driving a lot of progress there.
What do you feel about India? What is so special about India?
Oh, I think first of all, every time I come here, I'm always very happy when I'm here. The big thing I notice is when I was growing up, India used to be the place where you would wait for technology to arrive from elsewhere. But it's been changing, and each time I come, the change is more palpable. People are building things here. I come here, I talk to entrepreneurs, and they're doing new things which I haven't heard anywhere else. So I think, in general, I think India is in that exciting phase, the scale of talent here. The digital startup ecosystem is thriving.
Yes.
And I think that trend will keep growing. And so to me, it's exciting. I think India, will build more things in India and take it to the world outside. So that's really exciting to see.
Why do you think that Indians seem to have an advantage when it comes to roles of leadership? Because you see it across multiple corporations. What is that advantage? The Indian advantage?
I think obviously there's a strong foundation of education, but I think a lot of leadership is about your ability to work with people, manage through difficult situations. And I think growing up in India, you learn to be resourceful. You're constantly problem solving.
We call it jugaad. Is that?
It's a version of that, yeah. So I think all that helps you in real life. It's almost like you learn how to deal with the real world, and you optimistically work through problems. Nothing faces you, maybe, and so maybe it's a part of that.
But working in this tech world, which is so fast-paced, how do you keep yourself grounded? I know that on a busy day like this, if I have one extra cup of coffee, my brain is short circuit. And to me, I think my mantra is an asana a day keeps my inner werewolf at bay.
Yeah.
What do you do?
A few things keep me grounded. My family, I go see my mother still makes me dosas on the weekend. So, and that feels like the same thing which happened 30 years ago. So things like that keep me grounded. Like you mentioned, I sometimes do yoga nidra.
I know.
Yeah, so
Nidra actually saved my life, but another time.
Yeah, so being mindful and it kind of gives you the perspective that and grounds you. So I think whatever technique which works for people.
Yeah.
But particularly I think in today's world of technology and being hyper connected, figuring out that moment, whatever works for you to disconnect and connect back with the real world, I think is important. The people around you. Sometimes it's going for a walk with my wife and our dog, and I think that's what brings back things. So the simple things, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I didn't want to overextend.
No problem at all. Do you end up traveling a lot as part of what you do? So you have one son who's 20?
My son is 20. I've actually gone back to university, so I'm a student again.
Oh wow, what are you studying?
Doing my master's in fiction and non-fiction writing. So, yeah, my weekend's over September 23. So I've come back for Christmas holidays like all the
Wow,
other.
I'm super impressed with.
No, because when you said that, that's how you kind of, stay nimble by rejuvenating your mind
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Yeah, I don't know where you find time for all that.
I mean, I'm close to 50, so it was either a facelift or a master's, and I decided on the master's.
That's funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
For almost a decade, my bio said that I'm armed with two weapons, lame jokes and Google. So I think Google is part of my life because I'm probably one of your most devoted users. I'm Googling something all day. I wanted to congratulate you. You've just won the Padma Bhushan. You're clearly India's blue-eyed, well, brown-eyed boy. So, and I believe you said something like you carry India with you wherever you go. What does India mean to you?
India shaped me deeply, and it's always forever will be a part of who I am, and so it's very meaningful for me. I'm happiest when I get to come back to India. I grew up in a family with a deep value for learning and knowledge, so it's not an accident. I think I ended up at Google, so it's definitely a big part of who I am, and pretty increasingly I see people in India now building technology. Each time I come, I can see the difference.
Everything that I've seen today, I mean, AI, Google itself, I guess in the 70s and 80s would be in a science fiction novel. I would know because I've been reading science fiction since then. And the first time that I ever heard of artificial intelligence was in Asimov's I, Robot, right? And I thought there were two things I wanted to see in my lifetime. I wanted to be able to download my brain onto a mainframe. And I wanted to see the play of artificial intelligence. And here we are, watching all of this happening. What do you think, how is artificial intelligence going to impact the creative fields? Art, film, even writing. Am I going to be replaced by an AI?
Look, I think the exciting thing is you will have, you can think of it as having AI assistants pretty much to help you with most things. Maybe you can use chess as an example. India has an emerging. There are so many grandmasters coming from India. You now have supercomputers. I mean, basically chess programs, AI programs, which can play chess better than humans. But there are more people playing chess now than ever before, and they're using the AI programs to become better at chess. So I think that's a good analogy to think about how it can impact all fields. You saw the inspiring example where AI is helping you detect things like breast cancer better. So I think in every area you're going to have an AI companion to do things better. That'll be true for creative fields as well. I think there's an excitement in the field around what we call as generative models, and you will be able to, if you're thinking about writing, you will have an AI assistant to help you write, and if you're trying to create a piece of art, I think you will again have that capability. I think so, but ultimately, I think society will value what humans do, and I think humans can do it better with AI. So that's the way I would think about it.
I was reading an article about this fear that people have about AI, and especially when it came to writing college essays. And a lot of professors turned around and said that actually it makes no difference because AI cannot write the way a human can, at least not yet. And it also will shorten the time span. So instead of spending 2.5 hours on drudgery research work, the AI does it for you, and then you can write about the things that really matter. And I thought that was, really amazing. Even what we just saw about AI and detection of breast cancer, to me that's very personal because breast cancer runs in my family. Just like her, I've lost 2 members to breast cancer. My sister and I, even when we were younger, had to have mandatory mammograms every year because of the risk. And listening to her, it felt almost like a personal triumph that we've reached here and what it can and how it can impact families and women all over. What other fields do you see AI playing a very important role in?
I think education will be a big area. Think of everyone having access to a capable tutor pretty much on every topic. And, so pretty much every area I think about, I think AI will end up playing a role. So I've always felt it's the most profound technology humanity will ever work on. So I think the opportunities are endless. You saw, I wouldn't have foreseen a chatbot for mental health, but what you saw there, the underlying technology is going to get much, much better over time. And so these are all inspiring examples.
I think somebody mentioned about your work in terms of women and empowerment. And how do you feel that AI is going to impact this quest for equality that we all seem to have now?
Technology in general, when it works well, can be a great leveler. It can be a great equalizer. You've seen that with smartphones, where giving access to smartphones in rural households, making sure women have access to smartphones, all that drives, opportunity and progress. That'll be true with AI as well. At the same time, given how powerful the technology is, we have to make sure it doesn't have disparate or harmful effects on any particular groups, be it based on race, gender, caste, and so on. So I think it's really important to, as we are developing technology, particularly AI, to both involve outside groups, researchers, to make sure, and have the right regulatory frameworks to make sure we are developing this responsibly. And, be it making sure it's not biased, not just in the training data, but that the actual people who are developing the technology is also representative of the societies it will ultimately serve. So I think a lot of work, we need to be very mindful of that and invest in it early so that we get it right as we move forward.
At Google, you're committed to championing change in the workplace. Yeah. How do you enforce that within your own teams and your other leadership teams?
Ultimately, as a company, we build products for, countries around the world, and we know we can do it well if the people developing it, mirror what you see in the world. And so I think building a diverse workforce is something we take seriously. The technology world is behind, and so we have to make progress. And I think it starts from the top and investing. There's no shortcut to this. You have to invest time and resources, make sure it's an important priority for the company. It's an important priority for me, for my leaders. And so you have to work hard at it over time. But I think we value it a lot. We have set ourselves public goals, and we hold ourselves accountable in terms of equity and representation. And so we're making progress there.
I have one question that women are asked all the time, but nobody ever asks a man. How do you balance children and work?
It's a great question. Both me and my wife, we think about it a lot, and I think part of it is making sure through the work we do, carving out time in our lives. We take turns on many things, and I'm enjoying with the stage my kids are in through school and college. I am a tutor right now for them for many things. Before AI does it well, I think I have a narrow window. But it's just making it a priority across for both of us, and I think you need to work at it hard like everything else.
Thank you for this wonderful chat, and I'm really glad Google doesn't have access to my search history, does it?
You have access to your search history, and you get to choose what we do with it.
Yeah, because there's some very dubious stuff hidden right there. But last 3 days, it's been very innocuous because the only thing I've been Googling is you. So thank you. And it's wonderful being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.